Daniel had been assigned to the Kepler 442b colony for exactly 73 days when he first heard the princess humming. The melody drifted through the sterile corridors of the research station, a haunting sequence of notes that seemed impossibly familiar. Princess Melissa of the Andari Empire wasn't supposed to be here. Her presence on this remote terraforming outpost was a diplomatic anomaly, a political exile disguised as scientific curiosity. The Andari were humanity's first contact with intelligent alien life, discovered when their generation ship had intersected Earth's expansion into the outer colonies. They looked remarkably human, a convergence evolution that still baffled xenobiologists, though their silver-flecked skin and elongated fingers marked them as distinctly other. Daniel paused outside the hydroponics bay, his data tablet forgotten in his hands. The song continued, wordless and melancholic, weaving through the humid air thick with the scent of growing things. Without thinking, his lips parted, and he joined in with the next phrase. The humming stopped instantly. He entered the bay to find Melissa standing among the vertical gardens, her pale hands gripping a support rail, her violet eyes wide with something between shock and fear. "How do you know that song?" Her voice was barely a whisper, her usually perfect English fractured by emotion. Daniel felt his heart rate accelerate, though he couldn't explain why. I don't know, I just knew it. What is it?" Melissa's silver-threaded skin had gone even paler. "Nobody knows this song. Nobody can know this song. It's from before." She stopped herself, her expression shifting to something guarded. "Before what?" Daniel stepped closer, navigating between rows of gene-modified wheat. "Before the Andari left Earth." The words hung in the recycled air like a physical presence. Daniel's mind raced through the implications. The official first contact had occurred only 12 years ago. The Andari claimed to have originated from a planet in the Triangulum galaxy, their generation ship a million-year journey through the void. "That's impossible," Daniel said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Your people have never been to Earth before 2157. Melissa laughed, a bitter sound. "That's what we told you. That's what most of my people believe." She moved along the garden rows, her fingers trailing across leaves. "But there are songs, old songs that only the royal bloodline learns. Songs that were supposed to die with my grandmother, passed down through a chain unbroken for." She paused, calculating, approximately 1,500 generations. Daniel's doctorate in comparative linguistics suddenly felt woefully inadequate. "You're saying the Andari originated from Earth?" "Not exactly." Melissa turned to face him fully. "The truth is more complicated and more dangerous." She studied his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "But you shouldn't know that song. No human should, unless..." "Unless what?" She approached him slowly, as if he were a fascinating specimen. "Sing it again, all of it." Daniel closed his eyes, reaching for the melody that felt etched into some deep part of his consciousness. The notes emerged, forming a pattern that seemed to bypass his rational mind entirely. As he sang, he felt something strange, a resonance, like a frequency aligning with a receiver that had been dormant his entire life. When he finished, Melissa's eyes were bright with tears that caught the artificial light like diamonds. "The song is a genetic marker," she said quietly. "A mnemonic code embedded in DNA. Only those who carry the ancient bloodline can know it instinctively. It was designed that way 15,000 years ago when my ancestors left Earth during the last ice age." Daniel felt the ground shift beneath his feet, though he knew rationally that the station's artificial gravity remained constant. That's insane. The genetic drift alone would be accounted for if you understood our biotechnology," Melissa interrupted. "We didn't just leave, Daniel. We left because we had to. Because we had evolved differently, diverged from baseline humanity in ways that made coexistence impossible. But we left markers behind. sleeper genes in certain bloodlines, dormant for thousands of years, waiting to be activated. Activated by what? By proximity to us, by the quantum-entangled proteins in our pheromones. She smiled sadly. You've been experiencing vivid dreams, haven't you, since I arrived, memories that aren't yours. Daniel's breath caught. The dreams had started 3 weeks ago, visions of impossible cities, of stars seen from perspectives he'd never experienced, of hands that were his but weren't, touching instruments of unknown purpose. What am I? The question emerged as barely more than a whisper. Melissa reached out, her elongated fingers gentle against his cheek. You're a bridge, one of perhaps thousands scattered across human colonies, carrying genetic echoes of the Andari exodus. Your ancestors were our ancestors. Some of us stayed, went dormant, hid in the human gene pool. Most of the activated markers never express, but yours did. Why tell me this? Why risk it? Because, Melissa said, her voice carrying the weight of lonely millennia, the Andari Empire is dying. Our genetic bottleneck is too narrow. We need to reconnect with our source population, with Earth, with humans. She paused. And because that song, it's not just a marker, it's a key. To our databases, our history, our technology. And you, Daniel, you just proved you can unlock it. Outside the hydroponics bay, Kepler 442b continued its slow rotation, its alien sun casting long shadows across the terraformed valleys. In the space between stars, ancient plans laid 15,000 years ago were finally coming to fruition, carried in the DNA of a researcher who had thought himself entirely human, and a princess who had finally found someone who could sing her home. The song, older than civilizations, hummed in the space between them, a bridge across time, across species, across the vast darkness that separated what humanity had been from what it might become.